I stopped looking at analytics because but you can't help but look at that number ranking, that 1 to 10 thing that they put on there.
Yeah.
And you get that 1 out of 10 and they get the little confetti and fireworks or whatever whatever that is that it shows. And you get that, hey, that feels good and everything. But I think really what YouTube wants you to do is look at that 10 out of 10. They want you to have a negative reaction because they know that negative reactions always provoke us to do something, to take action. The 1 out of 10, we're not really going to change much. We're not going to do anything. But if we see that 10 out of 10, we get that negative feeling and that negative reaction, and we want to please our boss, YouTube, even more. So we're like, oh God, I really screwed this thing up. What did I do wrong here? I've got to fix myself. I have to change my art to better suit the machine
Right.
that is telling me, well, you need to do better. So it's kind of disheartening. So I do believe people should kind of like step aside from the analytics, sure, look at those a little bit, but really focus on what it is you're making.
All right, welcome to the Creator Files podcast. We're super excited to talk to Steve Ramsey today. Steve's been creating on his 2 million subscriber channel for 15 years. Is that right, Steve?
Yeah, it'll be 16 years in May.
That's
Wow.
amazing. He also has several other channels and podcasts. Steve, thank you for coming and welcome to the podcast.
And thank you for having me.
Yeah.
I almost
So
said thank you for joining me because I have my own podcast.
that's right. So you run at least two other podcasts. Is that right?
I do, yeah.
Very cool. We're going to probably talk a little bit about those here later on, but just a little bit of context for the viewers here. So, Steve, I came across your channel probably 2020 around that time frame. My dad is a woodworker. He does it just as a hobby. And so, of course, being in the world we live in, he came across you on YouTube. And then doing what I do and what we do here, he was also interested in the world of YouTube. And so he found some of your content talking about YouTube and introduced me to your content talking about YouTube. So we've had lots of fun discussions about some of your takes on YouTube. And so it was really fun to meet you at Vid Summit 2023 in Dallas. So how long have you been attending Vid Summit and what brings you there?
Well, that was the first one I had been to, and
Okay.
so I had just come off the heels of going to VidCon earlier in the year, and then there was a few of us who thought, we should maybe attend Vid Summit and see
Uh-huh.
what that's all about. And so I that was the first time experiencing it, and it was an interesting event. It's mostly for people who don't know, Vid Summit is mostly about the business of
Yeah.
YouTube. I think
Right.
that's mostly pretty much that's all it is.
Yeah. Yeah. It's more of a for creators, not whereas VidCon is more like people meeting YouTubers, right?
More for the fans, I think.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, definitely.
First year at Vid Summit, what were your thoughts? Anything that kind of stood out to you? What you expected or not
Well,
expected?
I like attending conferences such as these, but
Yeah.
mostly, I guess at this point in my career, I just like to meet other creators. That's kind of the highlight. After doing this for 15 years, I don't find a whole lot of information that I haven't heard as far as, attending a panel on how to make thumbnails or something like that. So I spend most of my time just networking, really,
Yeah.
is what it is, and meeting other creators and meeting friends that I've known for a long time. It's always good to see them in the real world, and then meeting brand new people.
A year ago, you talked about the start of your channel, this
Mhm.
Chessboard Series, the series of videos that you put up on your channel. You
Yeah.
mentioned that you made all these videos partially just because YouTube wouldn't allow you to upload more than 10 minutes at a time. And so you ended up with this long and, in your words, kind of drawn out series about this chessboard that you were creating. How do you feel like going from that? And you mentioned roller coaster POV videos and just family style videos. What made you follow the woodworking rather than just continuing some of these other types of videos you were putting up?
Well, it just comes down to the audience and what they were watching, and it wasn't, back in 2008, that was when I first posted
Yeah.
that chessboard, and yeah, it's like you said, it was YouTube had a 10-minute limit on videos, unless a few people, they were kind of starting this partner program, and they were expanding to longer videos, but as a new creator there, I was limited to those 10 minutes. And so, yeah, I posted this chessboard. I thought this was just going to be a fun project I'm making. I'd been doing woodworking as a hobby for most of my life, and I mostly just wanted to document it just so I could kind of remember how I built the thing, because I was just kind of winging it at the time. And just so some friends and family could watch it. I was really surprised when some people just like found it and
Yeah.
started leaving comments. It was really strange. But at the same time, I was also we were really into riding roller coasters. I was on this quest to ride every roller coaster in California, and so I was doing the POV videos of those using a little bitty camera and just kind
Yeah.
of putting it in my pocket, sneaking it on the roller coaster because a lot of these places don't want you carrying a camera on there, and posting these videos. So it was a combination of these two different types of videos, but I wasn't doing this with the intention of being a YouTuber or
Right.
having this as a job or anything. It was just a fun thing to do. But it didn't take long before really what people were watching and commenting on were the woodworking videos. But I kept doing kind of both types of videos really for the first couple of years on
Hmm.
YouTube. And eventually, though, once that partner program kind of expanded and I was able to get into that and I started earning money on YouTube, then all of a sudden it became clear that I could start to focus more on the videos that people were really wanting to watch. And
Sure.
so that's what I did. And so eventually I ended up removing all of my, or at least privating all of my roller coaster videos. I still have one on the channel. I've just left it there. I guess it's a
Yeah.
bit of an Easter egg at this
Yeah.
point.
What kind of change did you see with views when you unlisted those videos?
Is regarding the
For like
channel
the
overall.
woodworking. Yeah, so you unlisted the roller coaster ones. Did you notice a bump or did you get kind of a hit for a while? What happened there?
I don't think anybody really noticed, to tell you the truth.
Uh-huh.
It took me 2 years to reach 1,000 subscribers on that channel, and I guess back in 2010, it was kind of a big thing.
Yeah.
But I don't think people really noticed. I don't think people were really that interested in the roller coaster videos to begin with. So I think that was just all about, yeah, just leaning into what I was doing with the woodworking. And at that time, there was only, one other woodworking channel. There's
Wow.
hundreds and hundreds of them.
Right. So you mentioned you started in 2008. And just in some of the other podcasts I watched of you, you said that you kind of been out on your own doing graphic design, I think since the mid 90s, you said.
Yeah.
And so in the 2008 time period where, the economy was struggling, that sort of thing, you started this transition. This may be very subtle transition, but at what point did you feel like this could actually become something? It's a long process, like you said, 2 years to 1,000 subs. I don't think that that's that uncommon, especially for a lot of people getting started today, where the landscape has totally changed.
That's exactly what happened. Is I had a graphic design firm for many years, and it was the 2008 recession, and everything was kind of grinding down on
Yeah.
that, and I wasn't getting in as many clients and everything. But the YouTube thing started to take off, and as I could spend more and more time on it, and as the videos started to get monetized, and as I got my first $30 paycheck or whatever. They Google would literally send out a physical check back then. But eventually, and today a lot of people have these videos where they post like, hey everybody, I'm quitting my day job. Today's my final
Right.
day. And they have an exact moment where that happened. And with me, that never really happened because it was a gradual
Mm.
fading from all of a sudden I started earning more on YouTube and less on graphic design. And there was just a point, and I don't remember exactly when that was. It wasn't any moment where all of a sudden I just thought this has got to be where I spend my time
Yeah.
rather than doing a graphic design. But I do remember having like a couple of clients that I kept on for a long time in my graphic design. And I do remember at some point having to tell them, you know what? I've loved working with you, but I can't do this anymore. I've got to put all of my time into
Wow.
making videos.
Wow. Very cool. So switch gears a little bit. You made a video on I believe your second channel. I forgive me, I don't remember the name of the channel.
It's Steve Ramsey Plus because I renamed it Plus because everybody needs a plus
Oh,
now.
I love it. And how old is that channel? When did you start that channel?
Oh, probably about 2010 or 11, I suppose.
Okay. And what was it about that that made you separate a second channel off from your primary channel where you were just doing mostly woodworking?
Mostly what I wanted to do was just to have a way to talk way more casually to my audience. And this was kind of around the time when people were vlogging, and I was
Hmm.
very attracted to the idea of just like having this conversation with the audience and to be able to talk about the woodworking projects that I had just made. At that point, I was posting like a project every single week. And so it
Right.
gave me this opportunity to just set up a camera, shoot very minimal editing, and just like kind of more insight into what I was doing. And I really enjoyed doing that until all of a sudden it became that itself became kind of a big thing, and it became
Right.
more effort than I really wanted to put into it.
Sure. So on that channel, one of the videos you created, I think it was about a year ago, was titled "Are YouTube Gurus the Vampires of YouTube?" And I think the video is awesome. And I think that you express some thoughts there that I think resonate with us and a lot of people on YouTube. But what are your just opinions, and how could YouTube educators, will say, or YouTube gurus actually serve people trying to learn YouTube better?
I think most people today need to identify what their goals are with
Mm.
YouTube. And I've had various phases of my time in YouTube. YouTube is like a roller coaster. Sometimes you're doing really well at it. Sometimes you're down. Sometimes you make a lot of money. Sometimes you don't. And you just kind of get used to that rhythm of YouTube. There was a time when I was really invested in playing the YouTube game and really trying to, deep dive into analytics and all of this stuff. And then there kind of came a point where I realized, wow, there's a lot of these people who are making these channels and these videos trying to tell you how you can be the next Mr. Beast or whoever. And really what they're trying to do is tell you how to better make videos to please a machine. They're telling you that these are the numbers that you want to reach. And it's just about numbers. And there was just this realization I had at one point that making videos is art. And everything we are doing is an art form. YouTube is just the place where that art exists.
Sure.
And so what we should be focusing on is the thing that we're actually making rather than the process of making it. And the process of making it is obsessing over those numbers and worrying why we had that 10 out of 10 video, trying to change what we're doing to create the larger audience, which I don't think, even though I have a fairly large audience, I don't know how large it is of people who actually watching my videos, but I
Sure.
don't think that that should be the goal. I think the goal should be to establish a deeper relationship with that audience. And this is what I've been trying to do really for the past couple years, is really focus down on what is important to me, who is an important viewer, and why does that matter? And I think that if you can reach the people who are really interested in watching your videos, the money will come, and you really don't have to worry about all of this other stuff and playing the game of YouTube. I know people who are monetizing off platform in all kinds of ways because YouTube itself isn't going to, unless you're top tier YouTuber, you're not going to be making a lot of money off of AdSense. I don't make a lot of money off of
Right.
AdSense, and I get a fair amount of views, but there's people who are selling their own products or whatever. And I know people who are just killing it on Patreon. I mean, they are making a very comfortable living on Patreon without huge amounts of subscribers or views. In fact, sometimes the videos that they post that get the least amount of views drives the most amount of people to Patreon. So I think it really is more important to look at what is your reason for being on YouTube? Are you wanting to be a YouTuber, or are you wanting to create something that's actually going to be meaningful to people and have that integrity within you, and that just kind of, I don't know,
Yeah.
self-respect to do that.
We've been talking about that so much lately. Yeah, just people obsessing on what's going to work
Right.
versus what do you want to make. And I think that's why so many people are getting burnt out, because that's
True.
exhausting. If you're constantly trying to think what's going to work and you're watching the 1 out of 10 and you're so worried about getting that social approval.
I think YouTube is also it's really insidious what they're doing with that, and I stopped looking at analytics because but you can't help but look at that number ranking, that 1 to 10 thing that they put on there,
Yeah.
and you get that 1 out of 10, and they get the little confetti and fireworks or whatever whatever that is that shows, and you get that, "Hey, that feels good," and everything. But I think really what YouTube wants you to do is look at that 10 out of 10, and what they want you to see by that is they want you to have a negative reaction because they know that negative reactions always provoke us to do something, to take action. The 1 out of 10, we're not really gonna change much, we're not gonna do anything. But if we see that 10 out of 10, we get that negative feeling and that negative reaction, and we want to please our boss, YouTube, even more. So we're like, "Oh god, I really screwed this thing up. What did I do wrong here? I've gotta fix myself. I have to change what I did. I have to change my art to better suit the machine
Right.
that is telling me, well, you need to do better because you really, really sucked on that last video you made. So it's kind of disheartening. So I do believe people should kind of like step aside from the analytics. Sure, look at those a little bit, but really focus on what it is you're making.
I love how quotable that was. I have to change my art to better suit this machine. When you put it that way, it does feel like anyone could relate to how ridiculous that is.
Yeah. In the mainstream world, YouTube, or I guess content creation, has just become more and more realistic for, we'll say, a job or for something that you could do to, financially support yourself. And so I think a lot of people end up getting into it for that. And hopefully they maybe eventually find the art of it. But I think people don't. And those people are, I would imagine, more likely to struggle.
Oh, definitely. I think it could be soul crushing actually to be working at a job where you're really not getting any reward other than a monetary gain. And I
Yeah.
don't think that there's any reward at all in a numbers of people who have seen something because that's a really abstract kind of concept too. I
Yeah.
think there's way more intrinsic reward and value that we can all get from basically any kind of job
Hmm.
if we kind of look within ourselves. At least
Yeah.
this is my evolution over the especially over the past couple of years because this is a lot of stuff that I've thought a lot about.
Sure. Okay, this is a random, maybe a little bit of blast from the past. One of the videos I watched of you, you talked about spatula hands and something that a person called Wyatt. I'm not sure who Wyatt is. It was
Oh,
all.
that's my
It was
son.
in regards of, I think, getting better on camera. Something that Wyatt told you to do was spatula hands, and I wondered if that was something you remember or if something that rings a bell.
don't, I don't even remember that. Tell me about it. What did I say?
You were talking about someone had to ask you about getting better on camera. You said that
Yeah.
Wyatt had told you that you needed to do spatula hands, and you made some motion like put your hands up to the camera. Maybe it was just something about being emotive or expressive, but it just made me laugh out loud, and I just had to ask you about it.
I don't remember. Maybe it was like jazz hands or something.
Maybe.
But I do tend to be more expressive on camera, and I
Yeah.
do talk with my hands a lot. And I think that's one of the things that a lot of people, one of the bits of advice people always like to give about, oh, how do I, when asked how to start a YouTube channel, how do I be more comfortable, and
Yeah.
how can I be successful? As they always say, just be yourself. And I don't think that that's possible. I don't
Mm.
think it's possible for anybody to be truly themselves. As soon as that camera is on, you are, even if it's just a little bit, you're a little bit more, even right now, I'm a little bit more animated than I
Right.
am if I'm just, going about my day-to-day business. So I think what you need to do is just really kind of be aware of that and be a little bit bigger. Because I think we've
Hmm.
we've probably seen those low energy YouTube videos, and that energy kind of comes across.
Oh
And
yeah.
I'm not saying you have to be over the top energetic, but I think it's definitely you got to be aware of that you are on camera, and you just
Hmm.
got to be a little bit bigger.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. So over the years, and some of the podcasts that again I've listened to of you, you talk about some of the channels you enjoy watching, and a lot of them were sort of education, entertainment mixed. You mentioned a couple like Veritasium, Vsauce, and the Sci Show. But then later on, you talked about channels that were in the horror category, which
Yep.
it sounds like you are a horror fan. Bloodbath and Beyond.
Yeah.
What Is that something you still watch today? What kind of channels are you watching on YouTube today?
Yeah, mostly today I'm watching a lot of horror content. I love horror movies, and I'm also really into like the video essay channels.
Uh-huh.
I know one of the big trends in YouTube in the last couple of years, and I'm sure you've noticed this, is long format videos. Like
Yeah.
some of these people are posting, 3, 4 hour videos, and although I don't watch a whole lot of when they get that long, sometimes
Uh-huh.
I'll listen. I think it's mostly for listening, but I am attracted to people who spend a lot of time and research, uh, creating a video and really deep diving into various topics,
Mhm.
that I'm interested in, and those can last, up to an hour, and
Mhm.
I don't know, I'm just really attracted to that. It's like a secret desire of mine to do some video essays on horror movies, and I always have these ideas of things like, yeah, this would be really cool. I'm really into this format of video and everything. But when it comes down to it, I just, I have to prioritize that kind of thing and think,
Right.
do I really
Right.
want to spend time on a little passion project?
Yeah. So one way it seems like you've implemented a bit of that passion into your channel is your Halloween specials. Tell me a little bit about those and just how I know that you've mentioned quite a few times those perform significantly, we'll say worse
Oh,
performance
they're
wise.
crap. So yeah, every year for the past 15 years, I've always made one or multiple Halloween videos every year. It's my favorite time of the year. And so I spend a lot of time and energy, creating these little horror movies on some and other things. And they're just kind of fun and
Yeah.
funny. And yes, you are right. As far as numbers go, they are always 10 out of 10. And this is a good example. If you see that 10 out of 10, and I'm like, that's great. That means I've reached the people I intended to reach with that, because what
Yeah.
I made was a good video. And this is why I don't like it when people look at those numbers and they'll say that, the I had a 3 out of 10. What was a pretty good video, I guess that was pretty good. I don't like the way we use this term good and bad
Yeah.
just based on some sort of number of people who sat or clicked on it, or maybe watched like a few minutes of it or anything. But anyways, to get back to to get back to the Halloween thing, I love making these videos and read the comments on these things. A lot of times I get more comments on those than other videos, and they are all people who are just really into those Halloween videos. So it's like a perfect match. I have reached the people who I intend to reach with those videos, and I don't really care that I'm not getting the wide audience who are
Yeah.
there for my woodworking videos. There was a time when I was very concerned about that, and people saying, just stick to woodworking, just do your thing, even though it's sometimes usually kind of wrapped around a little bit
Yeah.
of a woodworking project in these things. But it's just I have embraced what I want to do on those videos. And it sort of falls into this. I'm sure you've heard the 80-20 rule, make 80% for your audience and 20% for you. But I think that there's probably a better mix in there
Mhm.
where you can do what you're passionate about. And that passion can find its own audience. And it
Sure.
doesn't have to be a big audience, it needs to be a good audience.
I love that.
Yeah, me
Very,
too.
very cool. So I want to circle back around to the channel Bloodbath and Beyond for a second. So I watched a little bit of their channel just after hearing
Mhm.
about it and saw that they stopped posting on that
Yeah.
main channel about a year ago. And I even noticed on their last video there, you commented they hoped that their videos would more closely the views on their videos would more closely match the subscribers that showed because they had 100,000 subs on their first channel and they just weren't getting the views that they were hoping for.
I talked to Jay, he was the one who ran that
Yeah.
channel,
Yep.
and they don't do that anymore, and I
Yep.
really loved that channel. It was a channel that specialized in really micro budget movies, and it was just my jam. And he was it was funny because he abandoned that channel at about
Yeah.
98,000 subscribers or something. He was like, I don't care about the silver play button and everything, but it very much bothered him that all of these people had clicked a button that says subscribe, and he was getting like 1,000 views per
Mhm.
video. And at the time, I understood that, and because we all kind of look at these numbers and we look at that disparaging amount. We could see iDubbbz with 7 million subscribers, but now he's posting, excuse me, videos that are, maybe a few 100,000
Right.
views. I'm sure he's totally happy with that because he's got totally all these other things going on, and he's reaching that audience that is important. But when Jay with Bloodbath and Beyond, at that time, I kind of felt for him because we all look at those numbers when we're going to watch a video, and we have this sense of like we're evaluating the channel or we're judging them. We're saying, well, wow, you got all these people who are subscribers, because we think of subscribers in a very antiquated way when now the subscription number is really just bullshit. It doesn't mean
Right.
anything at all. It just means somebody took the time to click a button. It's like a like button, basically. And so when we're looking at this disparaging amount, it kind of affects us. And
Yeah.
so, but now, if I had to go back to Jay and his channel with Bloodbath and Beyond, I would be like, it doesn't really matter. I think that those people who are watching your videos, the 2,000 or whatever who see them, they love what they're seeing.
Yeah.
In a way, it would sort of be nice if YouTube had a way to to just remove all of the subscribers from channels that just aren't watching
Hmm.
those channels. That would never happen because
Right.
that's such a vanity number, and we all like to look at those. I play that same game myself. I
Yeah.
look at the number and I'm like, oh yes, and people ask about your channel, and even in your intro, you
Yep.
mentioned almost 2 million subscribers, because
Yep.
that's sort of the metric that we use to say whether this is a good channel or a bad channel. If you're wanting to look at a channel on um, on like drinking tea, I have no idea, but there's probably channels about drinking tea or about tea aficionados. What will we do? We'll go say, I want to find a channel with tea drinking, and we'll look, and there'll be like 3 or 4 channels that'll show up. What do? We first of all, we look at the subscription amount and we think, well, this guy has got 500,000 subscribers, so this must be a better channel. So that's the one I'm going to first go
Right.
to watch those videos. And there has to be a better way of evaluating quality channels than that.
Mm.
And I'm not really sure what it is. I guess that's a starting off point,
Yeah.
to sort of give you a little bit of an indication. But I don't know. It's just one of these things that just it just bothers me
Yeah.
a little bit.
Talking about subscribers, I think you're right. I think it really is a vanity metric. I think when we talk about subscribability, to me that changes it just a little bit because it's more focused on you creator, maybe you and the art of what you're creating and what you are doing to, gain a tribe or gain a community around you. There's one metric that Julia brought up to me, average view per viewer,
Yeah.
I think.
The average number of your videos that each viewer watches. So for a lot of channels, it's maybe 1.5 or 2. Or if people love your channel and you only have a few videos, maybe they're going to binge all of them, and then maybe it's up to 5.
Right.
But I think that is a good metric to look at. Are people satisfied enough with the video, and are they feeling connected enough to me that they want to watch more of my videos?
Yeah, this is kind of some of the problem with having a viral video. I think people always kind of strive, I wish I could create that viral video, but I don't think over the long term that's a healthy thing to have on your channel is a viral video, because all that means is that you drew a lot of people in there for one video, and these are the people who are watching one and not another video at all, because they are hitting that subscribe button as a like button, or a lot of times that viral video isn't really even representative of your channel, because for some weird reason, who knows why, all of a sudden a lot of people started watching that. So I do know that people have actually turned off their viral videos in efforts to kind
Yeah.
of help their channel out.
One thing you mentioned in the past is that you used to subscribe to every woodworking channel that you came across, but
Mhm.
eventually the industry just got so saturated with new channels that it just really wasn't useful anymore. It just wasn't really something that you could do even. When you were doing that, I guess what was your purpose? Was it more of a I want to keep a pulse on what's happening in the industry, or was it a curiosity to see oh, I think this channel they have something. I see a spark there. I think they're going to take off. What was your take on that?
Yeah, I think it's probably both of those. It's like keeping up with seeing what the competition is or what
Hmm.
other people are doing, and and a lot of those were just like to be friendly.
Yeah.
I just wanted to like show my support for the channels, and a lot of that was back when a subscription was you would go and look at your subscription feed and you would follow and you kind of
Right.
just do all the subscribers. But as time went on, I found that really I wasn't really watching a lot of those because a lot of it kind of just becomes the same,
Hmm.
except for the few channels who are really doing something different or unique. But I found most of what I can learn from about YouTube and about making videos and about innovating and pushing forward and doing new things is not within my own genre. It's not within woodworking or the maker channels or anything. I can learn more about making videos and interesting content by looking at like horror movie reviews and these kind of things really
Yeah.
kind of give me sparks of ideas that I don't find within my own
Mm.
genre, I
Sure.
guess.
I love that concept of just using other genres for inspiration. I think so many people are looking at the direct competition and its
Yeah.
creativity a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then
That's
all
very
it
cool.
does is when you're looking at your own competition, then everybody just starts kind of doing the same types of things. Yeah.
Mhm. When you hear the term successful creator,
Mhm.
what I guess immediately comes to your mind?
I think successful creator is one who has established an audience who cares about what it is that they are doing and they care about that audience. Because again, a lot of this time we talk about success on YouTube and it just
Hmm.
comes down to some sort of number or metric. And I think that the greatest, probably the most important tool YouTube has and the YouTube offers to judge whether you're reaching that audience and kind of their general take is the comments. The comment section
Hmm.
is probably the most important thing. And this is like the one tool that YouTube gives to content creators that so many of them intentionally ignore. I mean, you've probably talked to creators who are like,
Oh
"Oh, I
yeah.
never read the comments. I just post the video and I'm out of there." And I always think that's the worst thing to do. These are the people who are actually taking the time, who enjoy your content just to say thank you or just
Hmm.
to comment in some positive way. And let's face it, no matter what channel you have, most of those comments are going to be positive. You got to look at
Right.
those positive comments. And I know when I leave just a random comment in the wild. Who knows where I am? I leave a comment on some sort of video. When the person who made that video just clicks the little heart, I saw your comment or I
Yeah.
liked your comment. It means a lot to me. It really does. It's like, okay, this is not just a YouTuber who has posted a video and is out of there or just kind of scrolling through comments. They actually read the comment
Yeah.
because they you have to in order and I guess you could just go through and click the little heart button, but I don't think that that's what's going on there. And I know when I post a video, I try to do that same thing is actually read those comments, click the heart button. A lot of times it doesn't require a reply if they just say thank you, this is a great video, I enjoyed it,
Right.
but usually when after the first hour or two when I post a video, I do like to reply to some of those comments.
Hmm.
But by looking at that comment section, you will understand who you are reaching and who those people are. That's the most important. It's not even a metric because there's no way of this is a human thing. This is a way of looking at the the souls of the people who are watching your video and that
Yeah.
they can see you, and we need to spend more time in our comment sections.
Mm. I love that. I think it's so easy to always just get so caught up in the numbers. And we talk with a lot of small creators, people who are trying to get started, they're trying to get something off the ground. And I think you're right. I think a lot of times the focus, maybe unintentionally, maybe for YouTube, maybe on YouTube side, it is very intentional because, of course, engagement is currency, right? And
Yeah.
so when small creators get wrapped up in that, I think it is a disservice. But I think it's just something that's so natural. We see the likes ticking up or the views ticking up and we forget that there are people behind those thumbs up or
Right.
people behind the ticker, you know. It really
Yeah.
does make a difference.
You have 1,000,000 subscribers on your channel and you get, "Oh, I'm so disappointed because the video only got 50,000 views on it." Think about that.
Yeah.
50,000 people watched your video. No matter what metric you're using, that number alone is a lot of people,
Yep.
and that's worthy of acknowledging that.
Yeah, for sure. So let's talk about your publishing schedule. And you probably noticed, and probably everyone listening has noticed, a lot of these questions are very specifically geared toward you and your experience. I am of the personal opinion that there's not one right way to do anything. I
Absolutely.
think that the most value that we can help provide is to give people different experiences, help them hear different experiences. So you have published or did publish for a very long time, one a week on your main channel, and have recently, it seems, slowed down a little bit. Maybe you could talk us through your thought process there and why you did that.
So the once a week, I did that for probably about 3 years. When I first
Okay.
started YouTube, it was kind of sporadic when I could
Hmm.
post videos, and a lot of that was because I still had my real job or my
Hmm.
fake job. But now and then I got into that once a week. I mean, that was like building an actual woodworking project
Yeah.
every week, and still it was just crazy, insane, and it did help to gain a lot of subscribers and
Hmm.
followers by doing that schedule, and I think uh, it's true that YouTube wants you to post a lot of videos. I think that the more you can post, the happier YouTube is because
Yeah.
it's making them a lot more money. And then during the pandemic, also, I posted a lot. Like as soon as the March rolled around of 2020, I was like, okay, I'm going to post a video every day. And so that was
Wow.
when a lot of people found me. It was in
Yeah.
2020 because, and that was like a total shift. I mean, it was a complete pivot at that point. I'm like, this is crazy. I'm going to be at home doing this. And it became a conversation with my audience. And it was a very special it was a very genuine, special time, really. No
Mm.
matter all of the insanity that was going on in the world, so many people, and I still meet people today who say, I can't tell you how much that period of time was meaningful to me because
Wow.
it had it's something I could look it forward to every single day just to see what you were up to. Here I'm building this project. Project could take me a couple weeks. I don't know, but you're going to be along and I'm going to show you this. I may even show you how I'm doing my editing every day and all of this stuff. So obviously that was not sustainable. And I
Right.
remember saying that on the very first one. I'm like, I don't know how long this is going to last. There's no way this is going to last forever. But so I did that for, about a year or so. But then I have reached this kind of this Zen enlightenment of
Mm.
my relationship with YouTube right now, where I have gone back to intentionally doing nothing but project videos. I'm building a project. I know who my audience is. It's beginning woodworkers. I know what my mission is and who I want to reach and the type of video I want to make. So I'm going to make those videos and post them when they're done.
Mm.
And so and I don't know how long it's going to take. I have other
Sure.
things I'm interested in doing. I do the podcast, I do all these other things. And so when I get to finishing that, you're going to have this video that I'm very proud of, and you're going to find so much information in there and you're going to like it. And so, what it's coming down to is about once a month now, I'm posting a video, and I'm perfectly happy with that.
Yeah.
And as far as numbers go, the numbers are actually really good on those. And so
Wow.
I'm happy with that. I feel more satisfied. I
Hmm.
feel like I have more self-respect than continually trying to churn out the the listicle videos and here's the top 5 worst tools that are going to kill you if you have to form these things in a negative light to get
Right.
these kind of views. But
Right.
I think that I'm in just a good place
Mm.
right now with what I'm doing.
What advice would you give to other creators that just aren't sure what their mission is? They're kind of just on this hamster wheel, making top 10 videos because they're not clear on their mission and maybe they don't know how to get clear on their mission.
Well, this kind of also speaks to the whole niching down business and find your niche within, at one time it was good enough to make a woodworking video, but
Mhm.
now it's not. You really need to have like you know I appeal to hand tool woodworkers or CNC computerized woodworking or whatever type it is. And so for me, from the beginning of my channel, it's been, this is going to be woodworking, and the pitch is very simple. It's woodworking in a small space for complete beginners without a lot of money.
Mm.
And so I can explain exactly what that kind of mission is. It's, I guess you would call it an elevator pitch, because it's a very simple idea. And this is how my courses are set up, and everything
Mhm.
is for that person. And that's why I consider myself sort of like the gateway drug into woodworking. You can kind of, here you go. I'm going to teach you all these basics, and then fly away, bird. Go do your wonderful woodworking things. And I hear about people who have gone on to amazing things, and they always come back and they say thank you so much because I learned the basics from you. So ultimately, I think that to have any channel have any chance to really reach an audience, you need to have that focus. You need to have a mission. There are people who make great woodworking projects. They're fantastic. They're way better at that than I am. But there's not really an overriding idea behind the channel. So it has to be more than that. There has to be that one single thing that you are the solution to a problem. And I think that, it's like any kind of business thing is find the problem and provide the solution. And so, like in my case, it's like the problem is obviously people want to do something with their hands, but they don't have a lot of money and they don't have a lot of space. So that's what I'm here to help with.
One other question that I had for you. This is a little bit of a niche question. I was listening to your Chad and Steve have a podcast. I think it was originally a podcast. It looks like YouTube now made it was now you have a YouTube channel,
Hmm.
if I remember correctly. But in your very first episode that you published, you had this discussion about some of it was just about what the podcast might be for you and different things there.
Right.
But at the very end of the podcast, it looks like you left in a section there where you had almost ended the recording, and you just chatted. You and Chad just talked about what your thoughts about the first episode, and if people would actually
Hmm.
care to hear about it. Was that an intentional leave in? And if so, what value that had for your audience? Because when I listened to that, it was like, I'm getting like the inside scoop here of like what this could potentially be. So was that your intention, or was it just we're just gonna throw this up type deal?
That's interesting you said that. No, because we had no idea what we were doing. In fact, that
Okay.
very first episode we didn't even start recording it. It just like starts in. We were having a conversation.
Yes.
We're like, oh, we should record this. And I think we were using Zoom or something at the time.
Uh-huh.
And so, yeah, I mean, that was like we started that podcast. Everybody, that's kind of like a meme now. Is everybody
Right. Right.
wants to start their own podcast, and so we didn't know, and we still really don't know what that podcast is like. But I like that the way it has evolved. And there was a
Hmm.
time there in the early part of it when we were really interested in doing kind of similar to what you're doing, is like looking into YouTube and figuring out how, and we were like deep into thumbnails and A/B
Hmm.
testing and all of this stuff. And then it evolved into, talking to creators, other YouTubers and friends of ours. And so now it's a kind of a combination of having interviews on there, talking to other
Hmm.
YouTubers, and then just talking to each other. But I do think that there's a lot to be said for, yeah, letting that kind of barrier drop,
Yeah.
and just like trying to be real
Yep.
without trying too hard.
Mm,
Just
for
kind of
sure.
just kind of let it happen.
Yeah. Now, as someone who posts has been on YouTube for a long time, it looks like more of your recent episodes of Steve and Chad have a podcast aren't
Mhm.
on YouTube anymore. Was that again an intentional decision?
It's because we kind of suck at doing this. We're not. So I've got like I have two podcasts. So I've got that, and
Hmm.
I've got my creative culture
Yeah.
podcast, the one I do alone, which is all about art and creativity
Yeah.
and this sort of thing. And the the Chad and Steve Have a Podcast is like a deeply kind of personal
Hmm.
podcast that the two of us have, and that we can talk about all kinds of like issues that are affecting us, and we have a pretty good audience in that. And it's one of those things where we'd like to do more of the YouTube, but it's just like neither of us really can devote too much time
Yeah. Yep.
to that. On my other podcast, The Creative Culture, I'm like totally leaning into YouTube, and I think that that's where I want my audience to go now. I
Mhm.
went to this podcast conference last year, and it was really enlightening how much like YouTube is kind of, I think, where podcasting is heading. I
Mm.
think that that's the and there was a lot of old school podcasters who kind of bristle at this. They're like, no, this is strictly an audio medium, and it needs to be on iTunes or Spotify, and then that's it. But I think that YouTube sort of wants to be a one-stop shop for everything, whether it's
Yeah.
live streaming or shopping or everything is going to be on YouTube. But I do like the video component of it. I like that you can have a podcast on YouTube, and that people can leave comments and engage with it a little bit. Again, getting back to that comments, because you don't really have that on the audio version of it too much. You don't
Right.
have that kind of interaction with your audience. So that's one of the things I'm doing with the creative culture, is just definitely trying to tell people, watch it on YouTube for a different
Hmm.
experience. The audio is not going to be as good. I can't edit it the same way, but I can put in some B-roll of the
Right.
guests I have on, and it makes it a little bit more interesting. But
Yeah.
I would say if somebody wants to start a podcast, I mean, obviously do both. You're going to have the audio version and the video version, but I think video version, I think you just got to go with it.
Mm. Yeah. Very cool. So old Steve, couple years ago versus new Zen Steve, as far as YouTube goes, how would you help, like, to a new creator? I
Yeah.
think that everything that you've said as a part of Zen Steve, I think I 100% agree with.
Yep.
I love it. To me, it just feels like the right way to create.
Yeah.
Um, all of the old creators who are more like you as old Steve, how do we help them get to a place where they can feel more zen in a very combative or very competitive landscape of YouTube today?
Yeah, and I've thought a lot about this, because I know what I'm saying today also comes across and it is sort of coming from a place of privilege, because I've been
Right.
doing this for so long, and
Right.
obviously I'm successful in YouTube, and
Hmm.
then I've been able to branch that out
Sure.
into other things. Um, like I said before, first focus on what you're doing in your art, and second, think about YouTube as a place for that art. It is your gallery. People don't say that they are Spotifyers or
Right.
something like that. You want to focus just on what it is you're doing. Find out what those people who are watching those videos that you're creating, what they're really interested in, why it is that they're watching. 9 times out of 10, I think people are watching a channel because of you. It's really the person that they're there for. What it is you're doing is also important, but it's not the most important thing. So be a personality, engage with your audience, talk to them, and figure out and understand that you can have other sources of income. In fact, you should have those sources of income outside of YouTube. And also, I think it's encouraging to know that there are channels who would be considered small channels if we're looking at subscriber numbers, even under $100,000, 100,000 subscribers. You might be making over $100,000. Well, that's kind of the point, is that they could be very small channels on YouTube, but have a very deeply engaged audience off YouTube, and that
Yeah.
would mean Patreon or something like that. So it is encouraging to know that if the numbers aren't as important as you think they are, it's those people that
Mm.
are important, and you can earn a living with YouTube kind of as that wagon wheel with the spokes coming out of it. That would be your core, your hub,
Right.
and you can earn a comfortable living, and that can be your day job with a
Yeah.
fairly small audience.
Well, very cool. Well, Steve, we are going to honor your time commitment today. We just want to thank you so much for coming on the podcast today. I appreciate your insight and just thank you for being a student of YouTube and a student of learning, I guess. Really, just a lot of people who we talk to are looking to be a little more successful. I think that what you've shared today has been meaningful. So thank you.
Really has. Thank you.
Thanks for having me. I enjoyed it.
Is there anything else, anything you're working on that's super excited about, super proud of that you want people to see?
Watch my podcast.
Okay.
That's my favorite right now because it's such a passion project. It's costing me money. I'm losing money on that thing, but I love it because it's like it reminds me of the excitement I had when I first started YouTube because it's
Right.
just so new and fun and exciting, and I just love it. It's a good
Very
hobby.
cool.
Everybody needs a hobby at some point. You're going to lose yourself in YouTube if you don't have a hobby.
And that's the Creative Culture Podcast.
The creative culture, yeah.
Okay, great. We will have that linked into the description for those of you watching on YouTube. For those of you listening, go over to YouTube and get those socials there. Thanks, Steve.
Awesome. Thank you.